Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tomato Podcast episode 90. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of important things, highlights of the 2018 years. We got Childish Gambino, we got Kanye West versus hip hop, we got album reviews, J. Cole, Travis Scott, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne, Eminem, Drake, Logic, Pusha T, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, we got Nicki Minaj versus Cardi B, wow. They say, now this is what they say. They say the first minute of your podcast is going to hook someone or unhook someone. So I've still got about 25 seconds. So let me just do my thing. We're going to talk about Pusha T versus Drake today, Def Cinnamon 2018, Mac Miller, Triple X, Freddie Santana, Avicii, Stephen Hawking, Stan Lee. We're also going to talk about UK rap, because we don't really talk about UK rap on here. Colin Kaepernick's Nike campaign is going to be a big one. Wenger leaves Arsenal, that's going to be another big one. Football's coming home. Is it coming home? Not really, it's not coming home. Logan Paul's suicide video is a big talking point at the beginning of the year in the YouTube community, and Logan Paul versus KSI boxing. And then we still got a PewDiePie versus T-Series. Fortnite is a big one, and then that's about it. So I just summarized. Do you know what? I don't even know what that sounds like, but I've got a funny feeling that's going to turn people off and get them to press that X button on the top right or left hand corner of your computer or in your phone or whatever. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are recording. Obviously, first things first, safety. Lock the whip. Today, the Tomato Podcast gang, which is just me as a solo member today. We're recording this year's highlights episode. So we're at the end of 2018, and I thought, you know what? Cuz being a trending entertainment show, we have to, absolutely have to, record a end of year podcast which summarizes the highlights of the year from the entertainment industry. So, and it was so difficult to find the highlights of 2018 on the internet, because my memory is as blank as a goldfish. I can barely remember what happened last week, let alone what's been happening throughout the whole year, from January until now. And the internet's been pretty useful, to be honest. I can't believe 2-3 days before the beginning of the new year, they haven't got articles out that talk about highlights of 2018. When I go on highlights on 2018, I get some next things. I don't even know what I get. It just talks about the economy and shit like that. I don't care about the economy. It's going down the loo. Anyway, so, let's not even go there. Now, I would ask, how's everyone doing today? But, there's no one here. There's no one here, lad. You get me? It's a solo thing today. Cuzzy. It's mad because this is the first time I'm recording a podcast by myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be blessed. See how nice I'm being to you guys. You're being blessed with this fantastic, soothing, incredibly mesmerizing and rather quite enthusiastic tone of voice for the next hour. I'm going to try and keep this an hour max, because, usually when you've got someone to discuss something with, it goes over, you got an hour and a half, stretching it out to 2 hours. But when you're talking by yourself, this is a first for me. I talk to myself a lot when I'm inside of my head, which is quite normal because most people do that. I often find myself, whispering or, muttering under my breath. But talking aloud in an open space, well, I wouldn't really call this an open space, but in a space, nevertheless, is, uncharted territory. I haven't been here before, so this is a first for me. And I think it will be a first for most of you guys. I haven't heard any podcasts where they're talking to themselves. In fact, I would say that's more radio, because on a radio, you just got the guy who's just talking about shit, and then he gets callers on, and most of those callers don't even know what he's talking about. So he's just gonna be like, yo, do you know what I mean? I'm just talking to myself here. Wow. So you will be exposed to another side of me today, a more weirder sort of it's gonna be like an out of body experience, So please stick around and do, fasten your seatbelts and join in on this magical experience with me. Because like I said, I don't even know what the fuck is gonna happen today, boy. But I'm quite excited. I mean, I was supposed to do this last night. Imagine last night I was doing my research. Just patterning up some notes and that. For the episode 19, which is now, and I thought I'd do it last night, like 2 a.m. because all I need to do is get in my car, plug in the laptop, and then bish bash bosh, we're there. But I was up until like 3 a.m. just doing notes and shit. I kept it really, really late. And that's because I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And that's not good. I'm yawning. And it's not even been 10 minutes yet. Wow. Incredible. Well, let's start off by saying what a magnificent year we've had. And what an entertaining ending of the year we've had. For myself, most definitely, this has been one of the most memorable years, one of the most significant years of my life. Certainly one of the years that I will look back at and say this was the defining moment, because a lot of things have happened that will continue and that will be carried on to 2019, into 2019, I should say. And basically, man is going to be patterning some shit up. You get me? Wow, I really need to stop. I need to switch up my vocab, because YGM is just not a thing anymore, and I just sound like one of those. Uncles who try to be cool and who try to fit in with the youngsters, but it's just not going there because you're using vocab that was used in 2005. So you need to just keep up with the lingo a little bit. So yeah, apologies for my lack of, relatability to the youth them. So, let me talk about myself just for a little bit. I'm not, I'm not self-centered. I'm not big-headed or anything. I don't love myself, but I thought it would be nice to start off right at home. So, what's been the highlight of my year? And then we'll move on to the highlight of everyone else's year. This year has been, like I said, amazing, because I started my dream job, my dream career in the advertising industry, marketing, and it was in one of the biggest companies in its field. We were in one of the most lavish offices in London, central London, and an iconic building. We was in Blackfriars, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with sea containers. It regularly features on The Apprentice, and from there we moved to Old Street, very more business central, more suit and tie, bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific word. Nah, I can't think of the word. Yeah, but you know what I mean, a bit more uptown kind of thing, less hip, more whip. Made no sense. So we moved over to Old Street, and again, another brilliant, fantastic building, great space, and I had a promising future at the company. I was working towards videography, video editing, a bit of creative work here and there. I started off as an office manager, so effectively a sideman. You get me? But I decided to leave that job, because I came across an opportunity that came from nowhere, and I jumped. I took the leap of faith, and I've basically gone from a position where I am self-sustained, where I have a promising future, a great salary, a promising, larger salary where I could live very, very comfortably, and I decided to give it all up. Yeah, I thought, well, let me tell you guys a story. So, an opportunity came up, a business opportunity. It was to start up a franchise. So the business already exists, and this is sort of like an extension to the business where you're effectively running an area. Now, when the business came to me first, I thought, okay, this is interesting. There's a niche in the market for it, and I was intrigued, but I wasn't at a stage where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And I never was. And I don't think even now, sitting here talking, I can say that I was in a position, I can say that I'm 100%, my mind is 100% accepted that this is what I want. Because even now, I don't know what I want. And it's just, like I said, it's just something that I just did. I took that leap and I made that jump. I decided to put myself in the deep end because throughout my whole life, I have had opportunities. I have started projects, most of which I've completed halfway, but I've never done anything. I've never run the whole course. So that frustrated me. And I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity. If I don't take it, I'm going to turn back in 10 years' time and say, well, what if I took the opportunity? How would my life have been then? So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it. And I know I'm going to go from up here to all the way down here. And I took it. I took the chance. And now I'm in a scatty little office in basically an industrial estate, really sort of scummy area. No windows in the office, small room, miserable lighting, and it is taking a massive, massive toll on my psyche, on my mental well-being. I'm not at a stage where I'm like, yeah, this is making me go crazy and I'm going through depression. It's nothing like that, but it's like it's challenging me a lot, and I'm happy where I am because this is a make or break moment. And I like it because I know I'm going to push myself and I know I'm going to bring the best out of me because that's just who I am. And I've always had that ethos and had that sort of mindset of going all in. Pull out game very weak. Wow. Did I just say that? Wow. I'm just considering whether I should take that bit out or not. Damn. That was very bad. Anyways, so that's my year in a nutshell. And starting this podcast has been another highlight for me. And this I have to say, this is probably my biggest passion right now. I've been working for the last week non-stop. Okay, not non-stop, but I've been working a lot on this podcast. I got in touch with a brother from Nigeria. Shout out to Bob, man like Bobby. He came across the podcast on a Facebook group and hollered at me, and he was like, yo, listen, the podcast is popping. I really like it. I really enjoy where you're taking it. I want to get involved. And I was like, yo, is this shit really happening right now? We're at the early stages, I should say, of establishing our podcast. We really got people enjoying it and wanting to get involved. So that's a massive booster for me. He's from Nigeria. He's very young. He's 18 years old, but he's very enthusiastic. And my man knows what he's talking about. And I really like like-minded people. I like talking to people who see the vision and who are as enthusiastic as you and who want the same thing as you. So shout out to man like Bob in Nigeria, obviously. Shout out to the Nigerian fan base. Soon come. You know, if you had listened to the episodes, 2 or 3 episodes ago where we were speaking about making this ting go global, fam, we've already started the ting. It's crazy. Now, why am I alone, you ask? Because basically all my 2 friends that I have, they're not available today, and I just didn't want to delay this podcast any longer. I was supposed to have recorded this on Wednesday and released it on Thursday, but we're still here. It's a Friday and I haven't released it, so you guys would have heard it, or you guys are probably hearing it, most probably hearing it today on a Saturday, and we're recording episode 20. Damn. Tomorrow on a Sunday, which will be out on a Monday, or it will. No. It will be out on Sunday. I would have recorded it on a Saturday, so I'm recording it tomorrow and then I'm releasing it. Well, I'm recording it today. Okay, listen. I'm recording it on Saturday and releasing it on Sunday. Damn, it's so hard to try and think of when everyone is listening to it. And then on the 30th, we've got a date. That's right. Damn. What's going on? We're moving mad active. We have got a live podcast session to attend to, not exclusively, but the 90s Baby podcast show, which is, a great podcast show that talks about cultural matters, societal issues, them kind of things right there. They're going to be hosting their 100th episode, and it's going to be sort of like a live audience, live session based thing. So, and we're going to be attending that. So that's going to be good to try and network, you get me? Because man needs to try and get some links in. So obviously, hopefully, you know, we get a few numbers and that, and maybe a few shout outs, you get me? That's the plan. Now, let's get into this. Because I've wasted enough of your time. 15 minutes in. Right, so we are going to be kicking off episode 19, summary, end of the year, end of 2018 summary of trending news. We're starting off with Childish Gambino. This is America. Wow. I remember when this first came out, and it was a massive hit. 24 hours. They had already racked up about, how many views was it? 12.9 million views in 24 hours. Now, it's on 450 million views. Now, I was a bit boggled at first. I listened to the song, because I originally saw the hype, and I was like, okay, fine. This is something I need to listen to, see what it's about. And I listened to it, and I was like, cool. Why is it trending again? I had no idea. I was mind-boggled. I thought the track was just below average. So I didn't think the track was good at all. I thought it, you know, it was okay. Like, borderline okay. Didn't like the beat. Didn't like the transition of beat. Didn't like Donald Glover's rapping. Didn't like any of the harmonics in the background. Didn't like any of that. But the music video was very, very, very intriguing. And it was whoever shot the music video, the way it was produced, a very, very unique style with, it reminded me a lot of an advertisement, a video shoot that I did for the company that I was working for, where they basically hired out a massive sort of studio, not a warehouse like theirs, but it's very similar. It's like a little bit smaller, and they set up a number of different scenes across the studio, and then the camera would just basically follow the character through this studio that had different scenes, different places, different times. So it was really, really good creatively, the music video, the way it was produced. But what was all the hype about? After you delve into the facts and the context behind the music video and the track itself, you really do understand, and you get a gist of how big of a genius Donald Glover is. This music video and the track itself was pure class, pure bit of genius, and really it did what most music videos and tracks don't do today, which is hit that nerve in your body that makes you go, shit, damn. It makes you think. It makes you use your fucking brain. So the song features background vocals, Young Thug at the end, Block Boy, 21 Savage, Quavo, and I didn't get that at first. And I still didn't get that, actually. I only found this out yesterday. But no, Young Thug I already heard. But the others I couldn't tell. And what I loved about this music video is the different scenes and the way it transitions from one scene to another. But not only that, it's more so how random and at random times where transitions happen, if you know what I mean. I'm trying to find the right word in my head, but I can't seem to find it, so I'm just going to try and explain what I mean. Unpredictability of it. That's it. Unpredictability of it. I like the beat change, but I didn't like the beats. So when he's first coming in and he's dancing and he's looking like, yo, like man's on holiday in Barbados, on the beach as the sun is setting, getting that tan on. And then, bang, he gets a gun, shoots my man in the head, and then everything changes. The whole mood switches up. Why? Why does that happen? What's he trying to tell us? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the whole sort of aspect of the music video is to highlight police brutality, high rates of mass shootings in the US, gun violence, racism, discrimination against African Americans more so. And that is portrayed very, very clearly throughout the music video. But stupid me didn't see that when I first watched it. So it's got many, many powerful aspects that make you, really question American society, makes you question norms and values in America, makes you question the division, which is clearly has been widening further and further and further apart, especially this year in 2018. I would say it is peaked, where you've got the African Americans community and you've got white American community, and they're both sort of standing against each other, looking eye to eye, and the tension really is rising very, very quickly. And this music video does a great job of portraying that. I want to go through a few scenes where he smashes it, where you can really, I'm not even joking, you can use this music video in a GCSE English exam, and because there's so many different scenes that you can interpret either way, it's quite a smart bit of production that was done. So there's a scene where Childish Gambino, he shoots down a church choir, and the church choir is all singing and they're all laughing and stuff, and he walks in and then bang, he gets like a rifle and he goes joo 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 joo. They're all shot down. I've been doing some reading, and it's actually referencing the 2015 Charleston church shooting. So a 21-year-old white supremacist American murdered 9 African Americans. The guy, fucking psycho called Dylan Roof, he was sentenced to death in 2017, and he was basically trying to reignite the race war between African Americans and white neo-Nazis. Very, very clever. Very, very clever. But when you read about stuff like that, and when you actually delve into detail, the contextual background of certain aspects in the music video, it makes it, I don't know what it is, but rather than it just being a piece of art where you're visually consuming and you're just enjoying it, it really hits the nerve, the emotional nerve. Like, I remember when I was reading that last night and I was thinking to myself, fucking hell, that's really pissed me off, because why is my man going into a church shooting innocent people over race? How fucking delusional do you have to be to want to cause someone else harm because of their skin color? I mean, I don't know how to put it into words. Like, I don't know how to explain the level of I don't even want to say the word. Like, it's not even stupidness. It's not even ridiculousness. It's not even... I need to figure out a really powerful word to describe this fucking lunatics. Describe what kind of fucking lunatic does this kind of thing. Like, right now, I'm lost for words. As you can probably tell, I don't even know how to articulate myself when I'm trying to talk about this particular scene, which, it's like... The way the video comes across, it has become so normalized, these types of actions, that Childish Gambino or any other artist can find a way to portray that in a music video. Damn. I mean, it just seems a bit ridiculous in my head. In my head, when I think of a tragedy like that, I'm thinking, my goodness me, that is such a horrific incident. When I read about neo-Nazis, people that have gone out of their way to kill other people because of their skin color, I can't comprehend that. In my head, that is something which is, unless I see it, I wouldn't believe it, because my rationale tells me that that's just beyond belief. The fact that someone can do that. But when you see it being portrayed in a music video, you really do question yourself, and you really do just sit there and just start to wonder, what kind of world do we live in? And shout out to Donald Glover, man. Shout out to a man like Donald for, bringing these episodes into his music video and highlighting the wider issues. But you just wonder, don't you? Like, wow, we're really at a stage now where you can do that. You can bring these tragic events into music videos, and it would just, of course, you're just going to sit there and just be like, all right, yeah, this is mad, upsetting, and it's crazy what happened, but that's it. You've just acknowledged it. There's no element of shock. There's no element of anger, frustration. You're just consuming the music. Now, that's one scene. And that's the scene that really fucking pissed me off. But then there's smart bits of the music video, like bodies being dragged away, which symbolizes Americans' willingness to protect gun rights over people. Wow. I would never have thought that. And that's why I say you could literally use this music video as an exam question, because there's so many things that could be interpreted either way. And it really does. It's a great tool to exercise your mind over and just ponder about the kind of world that we live in. Scenes of number of cars from several decades ago, which interprets fatal police shootings during traffic stops. People always, throughout the whole music video, you just see people always running frantically throughout the music video. And I couldn't really interpret what that meant, other than the obvious, which is them running away from their gun problems and from their violent problems, and also the black community being chased out by capitalist America. White kids dancing in the middle. Sorry, not white. Kids, I think they look like choir kids, like dancing in the middle, whilst the commotion is happening in the background. So I said that could symbolize the gun problem is becoming a norm, and such a norm in society that people just get on with their lives and just live on as if like it's a normal routine. Do you know what I mean? Kids dancing in the middle of a street whilst other people are frantically running away is a strange, mind-boggling kind of situation. And I think that's what he was trying to do, really, just fuck with the head. So, powerful bit of artwork there by Childish Gambino. And really, I think the overall summary of the video is presenting two images of the world. On the one side, you've got the utopian vision, where everyone gets along and reality is distorted through, rays of sunshine coming through the clouds, only to expose the modern day view of violence, divided communities, police brutality, open and closed racism. But I feel like in America, certainly today, in an age where you've got a president who in some way or another is promoting ideas of race and hatred for other ethnic groups, racism is definitely something which is coming out in the open. We're going back in time into the 60s, and that's quite scary. So, only time will tell what's going to happen, but in my head, certainly, I don't see it becoming any better, because now that distorted view of one race being more superior than the other, now that it's in the open, people have accepted it, and people have not accepted it, but people, now that they've seen it out in the open, they're very much, it's sort of like, okay, finally it's been done, because this is something that's been in everyone's head, and now that someone said it in the open, it's okay to openly express yourself about that kind of thing. Embracing it, that's the word. Fuck me, what is wrong with me, fam? People have begun to embrace the idea of discussing racial inequalities between different ethnic groups. Now, let's move on. So that's Childish Gambino's "This Is America" had a massive impact. Released on May the 5th. But if there's one guy who's had the biggest impact on hip hop in entertainment, I would definitely have to say that it's been Mr. Kanye West. Yes, that's right. Ye has had a jam-packed. Yeah. Fuck me. My man has been all over the gaff. Where do we start, man? Where do we start with Ye? Because let me tell you, when I was doing my research about when I was looking into, all the things that he's been doing last night, all the things that he's been doing this year and all the controversies, I felt, and it pains me to say this, but I felt a lot of sympathy for Ye. I did. I don't know what it was, but suddenly everything made sense. The problem with Ye, and this is a problem for, I would say, anyone who has the mindset of Ye, and anyone who is in the spotlight. This is a big problem for people who are trying to do something but can't, because the position that they're in is only going to harm them than do them any good. Let me explain. So, it's not a secret, right? It's not a secret that Ye is a fucking genius, okay? But most people consider Kanye, a artistic genius, which I agree. He's a fantastic producer. He's come into the fashion industry and he's done wonders with the Yeezys. And his reputation in the music industry is one of the very highest. But that's not why Ye is a genius, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you why Ye is a genius. Because everything that he stands for is morally more superior than anyone else's moral compass. I don't know how to really put it into words, but let me just give me a chance, give me a few minutes here. In my opinion, I think Ye is the perfect example of someone with a brilliant and really intelligent outlook of the world, with some amazing ideas on how to make the world a better place, on how to integrate the community and live in a more harmonious manner. This guy is very, very clear on how he sees an ideal world. That made no fucking sense. Look, I don't know how to put it other than he knows what he's fucking talking about, but he does not know how to articulate himself. And the problem with him is because he's in a position where he is, he's always going to be put down. Because everyone around him sees the world in one particular way and he sees it completely differently. He's the odd one out. So when you're in a world, in his world, where everything's about materialism, everything's about clout chasing, everything's about making the most money, being the best at something, when you're in a competitive industry full of big egos, what hope do you have? What hope do you have when your ideas are so polar opposite to your opponents? They're not gonna just they're not gonna compete against you. They're not going to see you as a threat. They're not going to challenge your ideas. They're gonna mock you. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna laugh at you. They're gonna ridicule you. Because when your ideas are so beyond and when it's gone so far ahead of their idea of the world, what can they do other than point, laugh, and call you a fucking idiot? And that's what I think. That's what I think Ye has been turned into. Wow, man, this is going to be a long fucking episode. I can't even find the words I'm trying to describe. Now, in every interview that I saw him appear on last night, he does make a lot of sense. He does talk a good game. But the problem is, everyone around him doesn't agree with his idea. The media don't want to push the agenda of, making the world into a more harmonious place, getting communities to get along with one another. Like, I was watching TMZ, right? So this was the big one. This was the one that really fucked him over. He, not only did he openly support Make America Great Again, Trump's election campaign, Trump as a president, he spoke about African American slavery and how it's affected African Americans today, and how they're only enslaved in their mind, and creating a really big hoo-ha around him. He appeared on TMZ and it exploded. This is where it exploded. Kanye himself stood up and in front of the whole office got everyone's attention, and they went on this rant about having liposuction, being addicted to opioids because he was afraid of how the media would portray him. This was clearly a man at that particular moment. This was clearly a guy who had very, 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 very bad self-confidence problems. He was very fragile at that point. He was very sensitive, hypersensitive, and he went on to criticize the media about how they treat celebrities, about how they talk about celebrities, and how they dehumanize them. And then one guy from the TMZ team stood up and started criticizing Kanye about the comments that he made on black people choosing to be enslaved, having 400 years of slavery in America, adding that African Americans were mentally imprisoned. So he was overlooking the fact that they went through one of the most disgusting periods in their history, one of the most vile, inhumane, discriminatory periods in their history, overlooking all of that, skipping right to the point of you're only enslaved in your mind. I mean, look, I'm very open-minded. Okay, I'm always analyzing situations, and I like to look at both sides of things, even when when I have a clear bias. But in this situation, I can see where Kanye is coming from. And look, do you know what the problem? Let me tell you what the problem is with the African American community. Because of the level of discrimination that they've been exposed to, African Americans are highly, highly, highly critical of any argument that attacks or that doesn't I'm trying to find the right words. I feel like people are just so hypersensitive that when it comes to talking about race issues, when it comes to talking about what happened in the past, people are very defensive. You get me? Right. So Kanye's point here is, all right, cool. I acknowledge that we've been enslaved for, 400 years. We've been discriminated in society, but let's not think about that. Let's not, because that's not going to help our situation now. Let's look ahead And let's see what we can do now, right now, today, to better our situation. I really do think that's what he's trying to say. And what frustrates me is that, and I sense the frustration from him, is that people are so stuck in the age of slavery that they don't want to move forward. People don't want to try and reconcile with their psyche as to what happened. And of course, this is not something that you should ever forget. It is imprinted in your DNA. It is part of who you are. Your identity is a place of slavery. You've come from there. That is a very, very strong part of your character, of your identity. But don't let that pull you down. And I really do think that's what he's trying to say. And look, when this issue of race and, slavery comes in, I feel like instead of having a rational, intellectual conversation, all of a sudden it turns very emotive. And people seem to get, quite upset when you say the wrong words. And that's why I'm treading on eggshells right now. I'm trying to be very careful as to what words that I choose. But I feel like we should really be in a position today where we can sit down and talk about things openly and without really having to think of the right words per se. I don't know. I mean, for someone who right now is in the forefront of being treated differently for my background, what color I am, the way I look, the religion that I follow, I totally get it. And I'll be more comfortable with people talking to me openly about the situation than being really awkward around it. That pisses me off. When I can tell someone's being awkward about it and they don't really want to address the point clearly, they're trying to find like little loopholes, that fucking pisses me off. Because that shows me that the person who's trying to be careful as to what words they're choosing are afraid to... They're scared of hurting my feelings. And let me tell you why that's upsetting for me, because I don't want to be in a situation where you're afraid of addressing something to me because it's going to hurt my feelings. Because the moment you think that, automatically that has it's already a problem. Like in your head, that issue, me being a Muslim, British, 22-year-old, when you're awkward about it and you don't want to talk to me about it and you don't want to confront that, let's say there's a problem with terrorism and we're talking about it and you're being really awkward about it, automatically I know in your head that's a problem. You're being awkward about it because in your mind you've accepted that it's a problem. And that's why you're being really awkward, because you don't want to hurt my feelings, because you don't want to create a situation now where we're both in a conversation and you're like, okay, let me be careful, I don't want to hurt his feelings, but inside my head I know this, that and the other. Whereas me, on the other hand, if I'm totally against something, let's say for example I'm talking to an African American, or let's say I'm talking to someone who's black, yeah? I'm talking to someone who's black. Now, there's clear racial divisions in society. I'm not going to try and avoid that situation and be like, oh yeah, like, there are some people out there that are a bit awkward when it comes to, treating everyone differently because people are ignorant, blah, blah, blah. Fam, let's get to the crux of the fucking issue. Society has taught us throughout time that being black means that you are automatically going to be born in poverty. You have less chance of qualifying, coming out with good qualifications, good education, and you're less likely to get a good job. Let's just be frank, because the only way that we're going to overcome issues is if we're frank. So I like Ye. All of that just to get this point across. I like the fact that Ye is incredibly open. He's very, very blunt. And I like it. But the problem with Ye is that he can't further his explanation, because people hear one thing, and I understand what he's saying, but other people won't understand it because they get too far into the emotional argument to really articulate anything. Now, let's talk about some other stuff Ye's been doing. So, he had an almost 2-hour interview with Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club. Expressed being hurt that Beyonce and Jay-Z skipped his wedding, blamed his feud with Taylor Swift on his 2016's mental breakdown, and he's also had issues with like John Legend about this whole Make America Great Again thing. So, he's been very vocal throughout the last year on his political stance, and not many people have liked it, to be honest. And I don't like it. I respect where he's coming from, and I get it. Like, all right, cool. You're supporting your man, they're supporting, their man, etc., etc. I get it, fine, but come on, man, there's levels. Like, you need to try and approach the situation in a way where you're not forcing it down people's throat. And I feel like Kanye's kind of he's taken advantage of the situation where he's turning it into, he knows what he's doing. He knows he's trending the situation, and he's got the ability to make it into something huge, because that's the type of caliber that he carries. So, knowing what he's capable of, you don't need to force it down people's throat like that. You don't need to make it into such a big fucking deal. If you want to support your man, you can support your man, but let's be a bit more responsible about these kind of things, because at the minute he's moving a bit mad. So, sorry, I just completely lost where I am. So he's had this interview with Charlemagne, and he's talking about being hurt that Jay-Z and Beyonce skipped his wedding. And I found that really weird. I found that really fucking weird. The fact that Jay-Z and Beyonce missed his wedding, it's a mad thing. It's like your best friend not attending your wedding. These guys made a fucking album together. Like, how much more closer can you be? Do you know what I mean? They're considered to be two of the biggest artists in the industry, in their respected fields. Wow. I would be fucking pissed off. And that Taylor Swift incident, man, fucking hell, that was bad. That was like weird Kanye. Like, today we've got the sort of weird Kanye, but a bit more spiritually weird. Back then it was just weird Kanye. It was like, bro, what are you doing? And he goes into, deeper about his mental health issues and stuff that he's been going through lately. He dropped Ye, which was highly anticipated. And I think it let down a lot of people, because he hyped that album up a lot. He talked about mental health issues, his experiences with recreational drugs. And really, I think what the problem was, the most recent problems that we've got with Ye all stem from the failure of the album, because he put in a lot of effort into that album and it fucking flopped, and he was trying too hard to be different. And I think that's the problem with Ye. I think that's the problem that he's had this year. He's been trying too hard to be different. He's been trying to force the sell. Like, don't try and force the sell, bro. Just do you. So, and it got worse, man. It just gets worse and worse. From that point onwards, that's when it really just fucks up the bass. He then makes a series of videos calling out Nick Cannon, Tyson Beckford, Drake, all in defense of his wife. Shit, man. He wasn't happy that Nick spoke about Kim Kardashian, who he was briefly dating. He wasn't happy that Tyson made comments on Kim's body, saying it's not real. And he's had real issues with Drake this year. So, I mean, this is what I'm saying about... look, you can't hate the guy. He's a special individual. Special in many different ways, okay? But if there's one thing that Kanye needs to stop doing, is fucking posting everything on the internet. Get off the fucking internet, bruv. Stop being so public about everything. There's no need. That's the problem that Kanye has had this whole year. Every problem that he's had with the media, with other celebrities, with other artists, has all been due to his stupid use of the internet. Twitter has fucked him up differently. And these videos, fam, oh my God, it makes me cringe when I think about it. It's like, okay, I get why you're recording it, but why can you not send it to them? Just send it directly to them. You've got their numbers. Why are you like, do you know what I mean? It's as if he wants the hype. He wants to be significant. And who doesn't? Everyone wants to be significant. But Kanye West wanting to be significant says a lot about Kanye West, if I'm being honest with you. So he's blaming Drake about making In My Feelings, saying that, you know, why are you putting the lyrics Kiki in when, I don't know what he said. He made some really shit comparison, like there was no need for you to put Kiki in because it leads to people thinking that you had a relationship with Kim Kardashian. It's like me putting Riri in my song which would make it sound like I was in a relationship with Rihanna. I'm just like, okay. But look, the accusations were false. He never did anything with Kim Kardashian. It was all hype and people were just trying to get into his head, and it just shows how vulnerable Kanye West really is. And this year really has exposed his vulnerability. From the media's point of view, from, you know, his relationships with other artists, his public appearances in politics, it has all exposed his mind. And I do worry for him. I really do worry for him because he's so fragile. Any minute he can break. And God knows what's going to happen. And I fear for the West. I don't ever want to hear that Kanye West is taking his own life because he was going through so much shit and some little thing just triggered him. That would be, wow, that'd be really sad. Anyway, let's go on. So this feud that he's had with Drake, man, fucking hell. Wow. Only recently, this whole Twitter rant bullshit, my God. So Drake's supposedly threatening Kanye West. Kanye West is putting it all on the internet. Drake's upset with him that he supposedly exposed the news of his baby, and he's given it to Pusha T, and Pusha T's put it on his diss track, and all of this, you know, bookie behavior in Wyoming, where he's asked Drake about his album releases, and then he goes and releases his album in the same month, and then, you know, 3 of his artists or whatever release their albums in the same month, and it's all a bit weird. It's all a bit weird, if I'm being honest. He goes on SNL claiming that he was being bullied by people in the back. Oh, there's so many sides and there's so many layers to this guy. It's unbelievable. My goodness me. Why would you go on stage and rant about being bullied? Why? I mean, the overview of his point was, listen, don't let people tell you what to do. Do you, and do it great. I get it. But it's just the way it comes across. It's just a bit like, like it's a bit cringe, you know what I mean? It's a bit like, I don't know, man. I definitely think wearing that MAGA hat, though, was a no-no. He should not have gone there. He should not have openly done that, because the connotations attached to that hat, he should know, being an intelligent person that he is, or quote-unquote intelligent, he should know what the impact of that hat is going to be. So, finally, you know, the last bit of action that Kanye's had is going to meet the president himself in the Oval Office. He discussed a range of different things. So being diagnosed with bipolar, and openly telling Trump that he loves him, giving him a hug, expressing the importance of making the president look fly. Damn. Man, like, yay. And where the fuck is this album? I swear down this guy was supposed to release an album like last month, or certainly this month, and the trail has just gone quiet. Everything's gone quiet. He went over to Africa to finish his album. It must still be in like production. Otherwise, this guy will be promoting the fuck out of it. So it's a bit confusing. I hope whenever the album comes out, it is a decent project. And I have a sneaky feeling, and I know I said it's gonna be trash before. And I know I was like shitting on him a lot. But I do feel like his creative capacity has gone to a different place where he's going to produce something quite special. And I hope that's the case. I really do. So, fuck it. Speaking about albums, I should say, we're going to talk about a few albums that have been released this year. So, a number of artists have been releasing this year. You got J. Cole, Travis Scott, Kendrick, Lil Wayne, Eminem, Drake, Logic, Pusha T, Cardi B, Nicki. The list goes on and on and on. And I think this year we have seen some really special albums and projects that have come out. Some that have been quite memorable, some historically significant, and definitely some that has, changed the game. So, like Travis Scott's album, for instance, the wackiest album this year by far, the most, I would say, significant in the fact that it's changed. It's a game changer. Transitions in his album are fucking like, the places that he takes you in the album are so weird, but it works. It's just like such an out of body experience. I don't know, when you can change a beat from one extreme to another and it works, you know that it's this is something special, and it's something that's going to be implemented in the next year. 2019 is definitely going to be a year where you're going to see a lot of projects that are going to come out looking like Travis Scott's. So, shout out to Travis Scott. I'm not going to talk about Travis Scott's album though, and many of the others. I'm gonna highlight 3 albums that I want to talk about. 3 albums that, in my opinion, have been significant for different reasons. So the first one, surprise, surprise, we're going to talk about Drake's Scorpion, his 5th official album. And I have to say, when I first heard this album, I loved it. It was something that hit all the right buttons. The thing with Drake, right? From the first album that he's officially released, his sound has never changed. He has never adapted to a different style, but he has always adapted to the time that he's spitting in. Yes. So his music has always been in the age where it belongs. So Take Care, when Take Care was released, Take Care was adaptable for its time. Nothing Was the Same was adaptable for its time. If you're reading This Is Too Late, it was adaptable for its time. Scorpion was adaptable for its time. All of his albums were projects that are right. They fit into their age, they fit into the category, and they fit into the Drake genre. You know, we've come to a stage now where Drake literally has his own genre. And the reason why I respect him as an artist so much, and a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, you're dick riding him or whatever. You're just another, a fanboy. But the reason why I respect Drake so much is because he's managed to keep his sound the same for 10 plus years, but still remain relevant. Still remain at the top. the traditional sound that plays on an old school hip hop beat, you know, in the 90s, with a Drake voice, is what he's accomplished. He's accomplished a sound that has continued on from the root of real hip hop, only subtly making it contemporary, if that makes sense. So he pulled out all the stocks on this album, featuring Michael Jackson, featuring a Michael Jackson sample, which I fucking hated, by the way. That Michael Jackson sample was so shit. He couldn't have killed that even if he tried. I don't know what they did with Michael Jackson's voice, but they fucked up the bass differently with that. I did not like that at all, and I think he was just trying too hard there to do something special, which didn't work. But the album itself worked. And it's that's a controversial thing to say, because a lot of people are saying it's too long. A lot of people are saying the part they should have just made it 12 songs or whatever. Not all the songs on side B was better than side A. But what made the album special is the feud that he had with Pusha T, and that's what hyped the album up more. And the fact that he lost the fight with Pusha made the album more anticipated, made the hype surrounding the album bigger than it was. Shit, man, this is going to be a very, very bad bit of podcasting, because man doesn't even know what's man trying to say, you get me? Shit. Wow. Anyways, the beef with Pusha was initially what hyped this album, and then when people saw that, this guy's kind of lost the beef now, it raised the hype factor for the album, because everyone, we all want to know what's going to be in it. We want to know whether he's going to address it. So, personally, Scorpion. Let me start off with this. Let me start off by saying that every Drake album shows a particular side of Drake. So Take Care showed the softer, mellow, loving, and I would say a more fragile side of Drake. Nothing Was the Same was a little bit of that, but also a little bit of growing up, maturing, going through life, learning through mistakes, and really just battling the world. What did he release after that? Views. Views was the polar opposite. It was hard Drake. It was come at me and I'll slit your throat kind of Drake. And Scorpion, I would say, has been a more intelligent Drake. More mature Drake. Sort of a Drake at the age where he's polished. He's the complete picture. He addresses a number of social issues. Still sticking with, the stereotypical subjects. Talking about women and stuff like that. But this is definitely a project where he is more complete. It's like the all-rounded Drake, and there's so many different sides to this album, and it's so versatile. It really does expose the sort of the real ability of this artist. He can make hip hop, R&B, pop songs. He can merge all of them together and come out with something incredible. So the album itself, side A, of course, hard rap album, while side B, a little bit more, softer. It's more for the women, and that's the Drake we're all used to hearing, or we were all used to hearing. So I think what he's done here is he's created an album where you've got two sides of his story. You've got the soft Drake and you've got the hard Drake, and he's merged them together and he's created into this final version. Voila, here we go. And it worked. The only thing I will say, and I will agree with people when they say it was a bit long, but when you're a Drake fan and when you like listening to his, when he's got a unique voice, so when you like listening to his voice, and when it's over so many different types of beats, so many different styles, you can't complain. Do you know what I mean? 90% of those songs are definitely bangers. So well done to Drake. Congratulations to Drake for banging the album in. The second album that I want to talk about is an album that I wouldn't be talking about if he was alive today, I don't think. But his death has definitely raised the importance and the significance for his album. So Mac Miller, who you would remember me talking about in the first episode when he passed away, released Swimming, and this again was his fifth album, and this really is an interesting piece of project to listen to because it is very, very open and expressive about what he was going through, about his mental state, about the heartbreak that he was going to, about the sadness that he felt. You could really, really, really feel what he was feeling when you're listening to this album. And, you know, there's a lot of critics questioning whether it was, you know, a great album or whether it was an okay album. I mean, regardless of whether he would have been alive today or not, this was a powerful, powerful bit of music that he put together. It really was. I really enjoyed this album. Not just because of the fact that, you know, Mac's gone, so, you know, you're automatically going to like it and want to listen to it. But the songs in there, the tracks that are in there are actually bangers. My favourite in there, 2009. I mean, it just hits all the nerves, man. It really does. It hits all the nerves, and you don't have to be a Mac Miller fan. You don't have to be a hip hop fan. You can listen to that every single song and understand what he's going through. He's at multiple points of the album addresses the consequences in his breakup with Ariana Grande, where he's had to adapt to a world where he faces alone, going from both of them, you know, fighting the world together to now him being in the middle of it by himself. The tone of the album is, I mean, every aspect of it is just incredible. Incredible. The tone itself is set from the very, very beginning. Focusing on, you know, terrible situation and one where Mac tries to find some positive sides of it. It's almost like you're living in his shoes, where you're going through such a heart-wrenching, such a terrible period in your life. You're trying to find any little thing to make you feel happy, to make you feel more positive. But at the end of the day, ultimately, what's happened is happened, and that's something that you're not coming to terms with. You haven't accepted. No matter what happens, you're always going to feel that pain. It's always going to be there. So, and he's a genius. He's a genius for making that come across. He's a genius for making it so obvious that he's feeling so broken. He's trying so hard to make himself feel better, but ultimately he's returning to that place. And it's almost like a bit of therapy. It's almost like Mac making that album. It sounded as if he was making that album to clear his head. He was making that album for himself, to as a way of escaping from all of what was happening. And again, you know, classic Mac, classic sound, classic soul, warm funk type of music. So, you know, and that's nominated for the Grammys, by the way, as well. He's got a Grammy nomination for the best album, and I really, 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 really hope he wins it. Really hope he wins it, because he would have loved to have won a Grammy. So yeah, rest in peace, Mac. And the final project that I want to talk about is this one's going to be a bit of a shocker for most people, but I feel like this guy here, he's one of the most underrated rappers today. For a long time as well. Definitely has been for a long time. Man like Logic released Young Sinatra 4. And my, oh my, oh my. I've got so much to say about this guy. I could speak about this guy all day. If I could. I could dedicate a whole podcast just on Logic. Because I don't understand why he's so underrated. Why is he not achieved greatness like the likes of Drake and others? He should be up there. This album, this project, is one of the most brilliant pieces of hip hop today. A magnificent display of 90s backpack rap, concept-based rap, back to basics rap, anti-consumerism kind of rap. It's got everything in it. It's got everything that a classic hip-hop album should have. It's got the celebratory and motivational feel. It's got high-tempo, upbeat, bad boy kind of feel. And, you know, he talks about a number of different things, but more so just relating to himself from where he's come from, the poverty, the drug addicted side of things, where his dad was a drug addict, being homeless, to becoming a millionaire, a success. And I mean, I listen to this album and I'm just like, almost every track on that album is a fucking banger. And it's been like this for a while. Almost every other project that he's made, he's just been filled with classic bangers. And it just begs the question of why? Have people really moved on from the 90s hip-hop music sound? Are we at a stage now where classic hip-hop was something back then and not something which should be continued and carried on to today? Because when I see where hip-hop is now, I question myself. And I'm just like, what are people listening to? That's not hip-hop. That's, I don't know, you're going to have to make up another genre of music, because that's not fucking hip-hop. People singing and using like auto-tune on a tune, trying their absolute best to sing their heart out when they know they can't, over a trap beat, isn't hip-hop. But he does it. Logic does it. He's got the Kanye West feel. He's got the 90s New York feel. He's got the boom bap rap feel. He's got the 90s Wu-Tang kind of vibe. He's got everything. Wu-Tang even appear on the album. But he's still considered as an underdog. But, you know, I mean, it's not even the sound. It's the complex bar strategy, the structure that he's got going on. It's the wicked change of flow. It's the multiple different types of flows that he's got. The way that he can flip it from one sort of style to another. Truly amazing. Rah, who's shouting, fam? As you can hear, bro, fam, I just took my headphones off and my voice sounds weird. Oh, it's kids. Yeah, as you can hear, I'm basically right next to my house. So, they're just people walking past. Anyways, so yeah, Young Sinatra 4, man like Logic, releasing a banger. And again, once again, I really think he deserves more than he received. More credit than he received for this. So, what are we going to move on to next? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to skip Nicki versus Cardi B, because I've fucking had enough of talking about them. We're going to skip past Drake's beef with Pusha T, because I've fucking had enough of them as well. Let's address very briefly some of the deaths in 2018. So we've lost a lot of influential people in the world. In hip-hop, as I mentioned, Max gone, X passed away, Fredo Santana, Chief Keef's cousin, Avicii, Stephen Hawkins, Stan Lee. these are some of the influential people that passed away. And again, I'm going to touch on 3 people who have passed away and who have left, what kind of legacy did they leave? So the first one, we'll kick off by talking about Mac Miller's death, who was tragically taken from the world on the 7th of September, where he overdosed of drugs and alcohol, a combination of cocaine, alcohol, and fentanyl. And according to, the person who found him, he died in a praying position. So, that's even more sad. I mean, it's crazy to think how someone who was going through so much shit ultimately passed away by themselves without being next to anyone. And you can only imagine what he was going through, in the moments where he was passing away. Truly tragic. But Mac has left a magnificent, a great, oh my God, the word has just left my head. Legacy. He's left a great legacy behind. He has produced a new genre of hip-hop music where he's paved way for a lot of people. The likes of Chance, the likes of Logic himself, who, pays homage to him. A lot of these urban underground rappers who make amazing music, sort of a neo 90s hip hop vibe, all come from Mac Miller. He was the guy who started it all. So his legacy will forever be continued, because this is only the beginning of that era, of that new age rap, classic rap. X passed away on the 18th of July. He was shot dead in his car outside of a motorbike showroom. He was only 20 years old when he died. And I remember when I first heard about this, and I was actually, I always say this, but I really do feel like I was one of the first people to sort of find out, because I was in bed, scrolling on Twitter, and I finally see a tweet where it says someone's been shot. Supposedly it's XXX. He was in a car. He's been taken to hospital, or he is being taken to hospital, and people are confused whether he's dead or not. I remember in bed and I was thinking, wow, that is crazy. Crazy. Someone like X who is literally on the fence. He is on the brink of becoming a superstar. He is on the brink of becoming one of the most influential hip-hop artists. He was beginning his career. And it's fucked. It's so weird to think now, because today he could be in a position where we're talking about him as the most influential artist in 2018, and him going into 2019 as the forefront runner to take over the game, because his sound was so unique. The album he released was so incredible. I mean, he released a project recently, which I haven't listened to properly, but people are saying that it doesn't have the same feel. It's more of a rock feel. But, the kid really had a lot of talent. He was versatile in the sense that he could change his sound. And it was so tragic to have lost someone so young with so much potential. And, only yesterday I saw the video where 2 masked men approaches his car, supposedly demands property, and shoots him. His girlfriend announced a few days later that she was pregnant. I mean, it just gets worse and worse. And the sad music video that he released, shows. Well, I can't seem to find my key. Shows him going into his own funeral, where he fights his resurrected dead body before killing his old self. Crazy. I remember seeing that, and I thought straight away, okay, so he's alive then. He's faked his death and now he's alive just to hype his music video. Because it was such a weird music video to see. Like, the coincidence is just mad. The fact that he's passed away and then they release a music video of him attending his funeral. Fucking crazy. But yeah, that's another young individual we lost. But, I outside of X and Mac, another big death that really shook the music community, and despite not being a fan of this genre, it really did shock me as well. The fact that Avicii passed away out of nowhere was a massive, massive shock. He was one of the most influential producers and DJs in his field. He created some of the most amazing music, some of the best tunes to dance to in today's day and age, in the 21st century. And he died 28. Supposedly, his family are saying suicide, because he wasn't able to deal with the pressure that he was getting from, music and performing live and all that kind of stuff. But Avicii's death was like, wow, man, it's just crazy. It's just like, you would never expect it. You wouldn't expect it. For people like him, Avicii, David Guetta, Calvin Harris, you just think, all right, these guys are just DJs. You're just going to expect new tunes from them every year. Anytime summer comes around, you're going to expect new music. But the moment you hear something like that where he's passed away, you're like, wow, I did not fucking expect that. So the world is definitely going to miss him, because he had some great tunes. Bruv, some of the tunes that he released would be on my playlist for gym. It'll be my gym playlist. Do you know what I mean? So now that we're talking about that, now that we've spoken about some of the deaths in 2018, I want to come back home. We always find ourselves talking about hip-hop music in America, R&B, celebs over there, overseas, but we never actually talk about our own homegrown artists. UK rap. Sorry, I was just yawning. This is really bad. This is actually a really bad episode. I fully apologize to anybody listening to this, because this is not a great ending to 2018, but obviously, as one door closes, another one opens. So, let's talk about UK rap. Because UK rap has been popping this year. And we're definitely not at a stage where we can talk about comparing ourselves to America. But we can certainly start by talking about the steady growth in a particular sound, in a particular genre that we've got going. So, this year, we've seen the rise of drill music, the continuation of grime, and a growth and a... what's the word? Fam, do you know what? Yeah, I'm getting hella annoyed at myself for not being able to express myself in this podcast. Fuck me, I'm just going to talk mad ghetto right now. Alright, cool. So, obviously, we've seen some tunes come out lately, and my God, some of the growth in certain genre of music like grime, drill, Afro sound. Afro sound has been one of those sounds that have been like popping. It's been growing from 2017, and then you've seen people like Young Bane, EO. You've got, what's his name? What's the kid that made the track with EO? Dino. Is that his name? Yeah, Dino. And then you've got people like Rams, Notes, Heady One Nason, B Young, and the list goes on, man. These men are going in. So shout out to them. They're doing their thing, and I fully rate the kind of vibe that they're going for, because it's a unique vibe. It's a unique type of sound that no one else is creating, really. And the UK is at the forefront of doing it. And if we can get to the stage where we've sort of stamped our, put our stamp on this type of sound, then we're going to be, at the forefront of something new, something which is upcoming. And I do see this type of Afro sound becoming global in a matter of time. So, obviously, shout out to young Dino, who's been at the forefront of becoming the fresh talent, one of the big youngsters to hit the scene, and he's had some bangers this year with, as I said, Advice with Cadet, London with EO, and he's got a unique voice, and I love his sound, and I love the way that he sings. He hasn't got like a polished voice. It's still very, very sort of amateur, if I can call it that. But very youth. But I like it. It sounds good. It's a unique sound. Skeppy's been releasing bangers throughout the year. He's been featured on A$AP Rocky's track, Praise the Lord. So that was a big one for him. And he's teased on Insta that he's releasing an album very soon with the hashtags SK Level. So I think that will be the name of his next album. And hopefully he releases it soon, because we haven't heard anything from him for 2 years now. Now, some of the artists that have been, representing the grime scene, man like AJ Tracy, Dave, Mo Stack, they've been releasing some bangers, some really good classic UK grime, and all releasing albums soon. So exciting stuff happening in the UK. But one guy who's really surprised me, and someone who's come out of like retirement, like quote unquote retirement, out from the darkness, is Dappy. Dappy's hit the scene, and he's been the big shock factor for me when we're talking about UK rap. Dappy's been the guy who's been fucking shit up. The last 5 of his songs have been nothing but bangers. So shout out to Dappy, and I really hope that he's going to be releasing a project soon, because all of his tunes have been singles so far. So I'm hoping that he's going to be releasing a project with 8 to 10 songs with the same sort of vibe. So yeah, man, really excited to see what's going to be happening in 2019 for the UK. But that is basically the music. Now I want to talk about some other issues in the entertainment industry, some other trending bits of news. So Colin Kaepernick, his Nike campaign was a big one. He's gone from being an American footballer to now being referred to as an American political activist. Unsurprisingly, after refusing to stand for the national anthem in a game with the San Francisco 49ers, because of his views on the country's treatment of racial minorities. So he goes to say, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." So the NFL back then, they quote that players are encouraged but not required to stand during the playing of the national anthem. Now the big moment was when Trump, fucking half bald-headed, fake blonde hair, fake tan piece of shit. Wow, that was really immature. That sounded really mature. Yeah. So Trump criticized the players who kneeled during the anthem, saying that they're disrespecting the country and the flag, and he really stoked up some hatred for these players and really increased the racial tension between African American and the white sort of more conservative side of the American population. Now he opted out of his contract in March 2017, and he made he signed up with Nike. And he debuted with an ad, with his Just Do It ad, which said, "Believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything," which had very powerful connotations with what was happening at that moment in time, but also it had a big impact on all communities around him. There was a lot of support for the ad, but there was also a lot of backlash for the ad as well. So despite a lot of people burning their Nike shit, I mean, I remember talking about it on a podcast and saying how fucking stupid these idiots are because they spent their money on buying the crap and then they're they're burning it. But despite all of that, Nike saw an increase in their profit margin, which was mad. So what's the word that I'm looking for? Fam, I literally cannot remember the word that I was thinking of. Shit. Yes, there we go. The gamble. So the gamble. Some of the words that I forget. How can you fucking forget gamble, bruv? Jeez. The gamble that Nike took on Kaepernick was, paid off. Because now they're making hella peas, and now he's an icon in football without even playing football. So he doesn't even need to perform on field, and people are already, he's built a legacy for himself. So shout out to him. He's created a movement, and he's doing, a very good job with that. And the movement is only gonna grow, and divisions are only gonna grow as well. So I don't see, any solution coming out from that. But I'm glad that someone is speaking out, because that's what people need to do. Speak out. Now, sad bit of news this year in football, when Arsene Wenger decided to leave Arsenal. So obviously, being an Arsenal fan, this was a massive shock for me, although we have been calling on him to resign for the last 5 years or whatever. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting him to leave, because he had one more year on his contract, and I did see him completing that year. Because of how stubborn he is, I didn't think that he would just leave despite doing so bad. So after 22 years in charge, he left. And in that 22 years, he won 3 Premier League titles, 7 FA Cups, and he won 473 games out of the 823. So just over 50%. Which, that itself does look a bit shitty. But having said that, 473 games win is pretty good. No, it's not. It's fucking shit, actually, to be honest. If you're only going to win half of the games, then you're supposed to be, one of the best teams in the world. That's pretty shocking, to be honest. But he did win the league without losing a single game. And we're the only team to do that in the Premier League. So, bruv, he's built himself a fucking big legacy. To come into England, to come into a place where no one knows you and people are mocking you from the very moment you come in, to then win the league, and transform the game, really, give Arsenal its own identity, play an attractive style of football where now it's being duplicated around the world. He's done a big job. He's cemented his legacy as a football manager, not just at Arsenal, but within the sport. So, shout out to him. And his last signing was Aubameyang. So before he left, he did actually do something good for once. Splashed out the cash before he left. So good on him. Another footballing event that happened this year, which all had us on our feet, was the World Cup in Russia. Damn. Wow. Fam, I don't usually enjoy World Cups. I do, but I always think World Cups are always overhyped. But this World Cup was actually live. So before the World Cup started, I expected there to be fights, brawls, all of that, a lot of racism, a lot of racial tensions, but we got none of that. Instead, we got some incredible football from both sides. Sorry, from all sides, I should say. Russians were the standout dark horses. They beat Spain on pens. They went on to the quarterfinals, and then they lost to Croatia on penalties. Croatia were the jammiest team in the World Cup. They were so fucking jammy. Throughout the whole campaign, in the knockout stages, they just won on penalties. They won on penalties in the last 16. They won on penalties in the quarterfinals. I don't know what happened in the semi-finals. I think they won in the semi-finals. Sorry, they beat us in the semi-finals. Fucking hell, how did I... Whoa! What the fuck is wrong with me? Yeah, they beat us in the semi-finals, but they only beat us on in extra time. So, yeah, Croatia were the jammiest side, man. But having said that, they did have a decent team. Only they weren't dominating. Germany knocked out in the group stages. That was a shocker. They were considered as a favourite. So to be knocked out in the group stages was like, rah, fam. This is going to be an exciting World Cup. Losing to South Korea 2-0. England winning their first penalty shootout in the last 16. You couldn't write it. You couldn't write it. I mean, when I saw England, when I heard the final whistle blow at second half of extra time, I thought that's it. It's done. We're losing. We're out. There's no way we're winning a penalty shootout. But in the moment we won, I was like, shit, this is fucking lit. And it's so exciting, the World Cup, because you can predict everything before it even starts. Because the way it's set out, you know what group you're in, and the route to the final is basically mapped out for you. So it was so exciting, the group stages. I was at work and I remember I was chatting to some of my colleagues who were females, and they didn't have a clue about football, but when the World Cup came around, everyone was clued up. All of a sudden, everyone was talking about the potential things that could happen, and if England finished second or first, and who could they be playing, and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, rah, fam, this is crazy. We should have World Cups every fucking year because it gets everyone so stoked. So, fully gassed when we beat Colombia. And then we beat Sweden 2-0 in the quarterfinals, and I was like, shit, this could be the year where we win the fucking World Cup. And then you get to the quarterfinals. I mean, there's 3 teams that you could face in the quarterfinals, right? You've got Belgium, you've got France, and you've got Croatia. And out of the 3, you would take Croatia all day long. I don't understand how we let them outplay us in that semi-final. We should have been up for that, and we should have won that game, to be honest. And it was very close. Either team could have had it. But it was disappointing. And I know if we got to the finals, we would have lost, because I predicted it from the very beginning that France were going to win it. France were always going to win it because they have the best team in the world. Their bench, they've got like a Man City team. It's the jammiest team ever. They've got world-class players who couldn't even make it into the French team. French players are going in, fam. So France will probably dominate the Euros as well next year. Is it next year? Nah, can't be next year. No, it's not. It's the year after. It's 2020. So, yeah, whenever the Euros happen, France will probably dominate that as well. Belgium looked pretty good this year. They're obviously known to have superstars and stuff, but not be able to play together as a team. England pretty much the same as well. Everyone was questioning how they had such a young team, and they weren't going to be dominant enough. They weren't going to be as threatening, and everyone was so surprised. So shout out to Gareth Southgate for doing that. We'll move on to... We've got a few more things I want to talk about. And the last few things is more related to YouTube and gaming. One of the biggest news in YouTube this year was this fucking idiot, Logan Paul's suicide video. So this guy thought it would be a good idea to film a video in a forest which is known to be a place where people commit suicide, to supposedly film a haunted video where they stay overnight in a forest. So Logan Paul goes into a forest, starts filming, and then all of a sudden he thinks he sees a dead body. He then goes to his friends and says, guys, I think I've seen a dead body. He then goes over to the dead body and then starts filming the dead body. I mean, even though I know what's happened, even now in my head I'm just like, rah, what kind of fucking human being do you have to be to do that kind of shit? So it releases the video as a way of trying to raise awareness for suicide prevention. He goes along to say the idea was to shock and show the harsh realities of suicide and get people talking about something that I don't think people are talking about much. He says in the video, I think this definitely marks a moment in YouTube history because I'm pretty sure this has never, hopefully, happened to anyone on YouTube before. I mean, wow. This is someone who's just seen a dead body, someone who's just committed suicide. The corpse was fresh, the hands were just blue, The body was blue, so, you know, it was clear that the suicide had just taken place not long ago. And the first thing that he can say, one of the first things that he can say is, I think this definitely marks a moment in YouTube history. What kind of fucking psychopath do you have to be to think about the benefits you're gaining from filming a dead body? I mean, I remember this happening very clearly. Everyone was onto this guy. Celebrities, fans, media outlets, they were all gunning for him. And I think everyone was waiting for him to fuck up, because he was a piece of work. No one really liked watching him. He was very, very on. I remember at that time, actually, I was a fan. I used to watch a lot of his videos, and I was making YouTube videos at the time, so watching his content was really inspiring for me as a content creator, to see the types of the way that his content was made and how he had become so entertaining and how he was able to grasp so much attention. It was, you know, nice for another creator to see, because I could implement bits from his video to mine, and, you know, see what works and see what doesn't. So I really enjoyed the content that he was making, but a lot of people were just cringed up by it. So I think this was the moment where people were like, yes, he's finally fucked up. Now we can all put his head on the spike. And before that video, he was one of the hottest channels on YouTube. He was the fastest growing channel on YouTube, creating content every single day. Earlier this month, another fucking dumb fuck YouTuber did the exact same thing as Logan Paul, went into a forest and filmed a dead body just because Logan did it. His intentions were to do it because Logan did it. So this was one of the big news on YouTube this year. A lot of, you know, people criticizing YouTube for backing him, for not really punishing him enough, just merely giving him a strike, didn't get arrested or anything like that. And I think that was the defining moment for Logan, because before that it was the immature, jokey, do whatever the fuck I want kind of Logan Paul, and now we've seen a very much more reserved, kept, you know, treading on thin ice all the time. He's very careful about his moves and what he says and what he does. So that moves on. That allows me to move on to, you know, Logan's next highlight of the year, which was another highlight in YouTube actually, which was the Logan Paul versus KSI boxing fight. So this all started, and again, fucking ridiculous how much, you know, one platform can do. They basically created the biggest boxing fight outside of actual boxing. So, and I remember a lot of boxers were actually pissed off about this. A lot of fighters were pissed off that two kids were effectively mocking their sport. And they did it really, really well. So it all started with Joella, another YouTuber, challenging Theo Baker, another YouTuber, for a charity boxing match. Okay, so Joella won the match. He won the fight. And then KSI basically said before the fight that whoever wins this, I want to fight you. So then, you know, it was set up. KSI would fight Joella. And this was a real beef. A legit, real, competitive beef between KSI and Joella. And they knew what they were doing. They were very, very calculated. They wanted to sell the fight. So they created a lot of controversy. They created a lot of animosity between each other. And at the end of the day, KSI fucked up Joella. And then after he won the fight, he did a little speech where he said he wants to fight Joella or Logan Paul or any of the Pauls. And then Logan Paul accepted the fight. So a lot of hype was created for the fight. A lot of press conferences between the two. A lot of beef between the two before the fight, and even beef between those in the undercard. So Deji wanted to fight on the undercard, and he challenged what's his name, Jake Paul. My God, I feel like the Jake Paul fight was bigger than the Logan Paul fight though, because their hatred between the two of them, Jake Paul and Deji, that was fucking real. If you thought Logan Paul and KSI was just, they're just playing up for the cameras, Deji and Jake Paul was fucking legit. They wanted to rip each other's heads off. So, yeah, I mean, the fight itself was great. It was a great bit of entertainment. They, you could tell, they were obviously amateurs. They obviously had a lot of polishing up to do, but they had the basics of knowing how to box. So, KSI being trained by, in fact, I think they both were taught by, what's his face? Mayweather. Yes, Mayweather's. They both went over to Mayweather's training thing. What do you call it? His gym, and they both were trained. So it was actually it's funny to see how real it became, because this wasn't some little YouTube thing. This became like a big global bit of news. So the fight ended in a draw. Logan dominated the first 2 rounds. KSI came back in the 3rd round, and then his stamina was basically better than Logan. So personally, I mean, I think KSI should have won that fight. I think Logan knows that he came out of it a bit lucky. But ended in a draw. Everyone was saying, yeah, this obviously it was going to end in a draw so that they can make another fight and they can make more money. But ultimately, the contract itself did state that it would be a 2-match fight. So regardless of if it was going to be a draw or not, they were going to have another fight. But it was good. It was a good bit of entertainment. They sold 15,000 tickets, and thousands more bought tickets to watch it on YouTube for £7.50. So they made a lot of money out of it as well. A good payday for both of them. Definitely in the millions, I would say. Millions? Maybe not millions. Maybe, actually, I would probably say millions because of all the sponsorships and shit like that. So, yeah, we're expecting them to fight again next year. Apparently, KSI doesn't want the heat anymore. Apparently now Logan Paul wants to go into UFC. I don't know. Let's see what happens. It seems like it's gone cold, but, anything can happen. We just saw KSI and fucking Deji have the biggest fight of their lives. Not physical, but yeah. So we'll move on to this other beef going on, which is non-violent, between PewDiePie and T-Series. This has been going on for a while now. And when I first saw this, I was like, what? T-Series? Who? What is going on? If you don't know, PewDiePie is a Swedish YouTuber. He's had the most sub-channel for about almost 5 years. He makes gaming videos, reacting to other videos, reacting to memes, and he just makes overall funny content. And in the last year, he's been involved in controversy, as you do. He used the N-word in one of his videos. Bro, when I saw that video, my God, cuz, if you look at his face when he says it, oh my days. He's playing a game, and then he says, fuck off you N-word, and then he says, oh shit, straight away. And his face is blank, and he's looking in the screen, not in the camera. He's looking in the game. He's just acting normal, but he's realized what he's done, and then he's like, fuck, I have completely fucked myself up. And because it was a live stream, he couldn't do anything about it other than just play it cool. So, yeah, he's had an interesting year as well. But anyway, so that's PewDiePie. T-Series, on the other hand, I'd never heard of them. I didn't know who the fuck they were. I thought they were like some challenge channel or something like that. Like a viral trending page that did shit stupid shit like different challenges that would go viral. But T-Series ended up to be an Indian channel that belongs to a company who posts Bollywood trailers and songs in a country of 1.3 billion people. First of all, for a channel who posts Bollywood trailers and songs to have over 75 million subscribers is a fucking joke. Who the fuck subs to these pages? Why would you sub to a channel who post Bollywood trailers? Surely you would just type in the movie in the search section and just have a look at it. But the fact that it's got 75 million subscribers just says it all, really. Like, wow. I didn't actually know people sub to these types of channels. So anyway, T-Series itself, they're a massive brand in India. They have been since the 80s. And they're in a battle, or they don't see themselves in a battle, but they are in a battle with PewDiePie to see who can become the largest, the biggest sub-channel on YouTube. So, T-Series supposedly gets 145,000 subs a day. PewDiePie, on the other hand, he's a one-man army, so I don't think he'd get that much. But at the minute, PewDiePie's on 78.5 million and T-Series is on 77.5. So PewDiePie's 1 mil ahead, but there was a point where they were sort of like there was a 40,000 subscriber gap. This whole thing is just ridiculous. Personally, I think this is all stupid. It's a joke. But people have taken it very, very seriously to the point where people have gone as far as to hack printers worldwide, hack GTA. They've got big YouTubers to promote the slogan, subscribe to PewDiePie, worldwide. So this is actually a movement. T-Series, on the other hand, are just like, what the fuck is this shit? We don't want to play no petty games with you. We're a well-respected company, and we really don't give a shit whether we're the most subbed or not, but eventually we will be. And I think they will be, to be, I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. They've been around since the 80s. They're in a country with 1.3 billion people. They're in an economy which is booming at the minute. Everything's going to be coming from India pretty soon. So I guess PewDiePie just needs to wave bye-bye to his most sub channel and make way for fucking T-Series. Who would have known? Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about, 2018, we've seen a big wave of online games. And the biggest online game that has come out from 2018 has most definitely been Fortnite. The world's most popular game, released in July, that gained traction last July, but that only gained traction this year. Kids have been going fucking crazy for this game. Anytime now I go to a school to teach children, because that's what we do as a company, we teach children how to cook. Anytime I go in and we talk about like random stuff like, oh, so what do you do at home, blah, blah, blah. Always, 9 times out of 10, always, the kids will always refer to Fortnite. Kids, ages of 5, 6, 7, playing Fortnite. What's the world come to? Now, the game itself, it's like a mix of man's head is gone blank. It's a mix of Battle Royale and Hunger Games. So, in the Hunger Games, and I didn't realize this until I read up about it, and I was like, oh shit, that's so true. Hunger Games, where it's like the last one survives and you're in this sort of area, this locked off area where you've got different lands, different environments. You get to pick out different weapons and shit like that, and it's basically last man standing. So, great concept. Really, really good. But the thing that's made the game go viral is the fucking dance moves in the game, such as the floss, which has become another internet sensation. And anytime I see shit like that, I cringe because I'm like, okay, like what the fuck? Why are people making such a big deal out of a dance move from a game? But it's a big deal. I mean, another viral moment was when Drake jumped on it and started streaming with popular Fortnite player Ninja. And that was the most watched stream on Twitch. It's become the most it's the most popular video on Twitch, and Twitch now, the streaming website, has become very, very popular now as well because of Fortnite. So apparently, this is how big Fortnite is. So Ninja, who streams Fortnite, who is basically their biggest ambassador, supposedly makes, or was making at one point, $500,000 a month just from playing a fucking game. But recently, Fortnite has, I mean, let's just not forget to note that Fortnite has revolutionized the gaming industry with a game where players can come back again and again and not lose the bit of enjoyment that they had when they first played it. It's not a game where you have a one-time experience. It's a game where you can play over and over again without getting bored. And it's free. And that's the craziest part. So I do see this industry becoming bigger, and in the future more games coming from these online, platforms where you can play it on any console, on any type of, what are those words? Digital outlet, devices, whatever you want to call them. But Fortnite has been at the forefront so far, and it's done a good job. But it's been criticised, obviously, for being highly addictive for kids. I mean, the amount of times I've heard kids saying, my mum don't let me play. Well, duh, I wouldn't let you fucking play. I wouldn't let my own kids play because that game, once you play it, you're hooked. That's it. Forget about the whole world, fam. You're sucked into this next world where you're just running around killing people and hiding and shit like that. It's just, but to be fair, there are elements of it that do make you, it's a very strategical game, which I rate because it makes you think. And for a kid to be playing that game and to have those sort of thoughts about where to go, what to do, yeah, it's got elements of good and bad. But as I was saying, it's been facing a number of lawsuits lately for copying dance moves and stealing skin costumes. And I do need to add that the only way they make money is through skins, which is basically like costumes that players wear. So they've got custom ones where you can buy. And that's the only bit of, selling that they do. And I found that really weird when I first heard about it. I was like, wow, that's crazy. No advertisement, nothing like that. They must make a shit ton of money then, if they become this popular just by selling skins. So shout out to them. So some of the people that are suing them, 2 Millie is suing them for the Millie Rock. Alfonso, so Carlton from Fresh Prince, is suing them for the Carlton dance. The Backpack Kid is suing them for the floss. And a number of other celebs are considering suing Fortnite for stealing their dances. I don't know how credible their case is going to be when they're suing a company for stealing a dance. Like, how can you be an originator of a dance? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, a dance is a bit of expression that you're sort of doing with your own body. You're not... I don't know whether there's a way you can copyright your fucking dance moves, but anyway, good luck to them. And that's basically my conclusion of 2018. Wow, this has been a fucking shit episode. I have not enjoyed this at all because I've just been yapping on for the last 2 hours. My brain feels like it's gonna explode. I feel like I've just been talking 90% shit, 10% waffle. I hope you've enjoyed the 90% shit and 10% waffle. We will be making another episode before the end of the year. So I think we're going to be releasing it on the 31st, which is the last day of the year. So that's going to be lit. Thank you so much if you have reached this far and you have reached this 2 hour point. My God, man. If you've been listening to this for 2 hours, like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Seriously? 2 hours? Yo. If you have reached it this far and you've listened for 2 hours, thank you very much. You're the real MVP. Really, really appreciate all the time and effort that you've been putting into our podcast. Episode 19. Do follow us. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Podcast Tomato. We've also got a Facebook page. We've released a Facebook page, so you can follow that. Again, the Tomato Podcast, trending entertainment news. Is it trending entertainment news or show? Fam, I can't even remember the name of our own show. How embarrassing. Anyways, don't forget, we are also on SoundCloud. We are also on YouTube. And we're also launching our shows on other major platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, etc., etc., etc. Lots of news, lots of updates to be coming up in the new year. Hopefully, we're going to be collabing with a lot of other podcast shows. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying right now, so I'm just going to fucking disappear right now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we will see you on episode 20. Safe.